Welcome back to Creating Your Life. This is episode 21, Rites of Passage. Imagination is the tool with which you architect your life, and if you don't use it, other people will. Just as importantly, as we have seen, other people's picture of you can influence how you appear, especially if they're a powerful authority figure. And this is where rites of passage come in. Rites of passages meaning like consecration ceremonies, bat mitzvahs, weddings, even memorial services. These times where people's pictures change. One of the things about some of these rites of passage, especially the ones like a bat mitzvah or a wedding, is a single powerful authority figure gives a one-time affirmation and people's lives change. Even the picture of themselves change. This is a real powerful and unusual thing that happens in life, and it's something to be aware of. Hi, Mark Alexander back for more Creating Your Life, talking about rites of passage. The rite of passage I want to illustrate with is weddings. Here is my wedding picture. My wife and I got married in 1997, a little over 17 years ago. And if you think about it, weddings are very interesting things. You have two people who see themselves as single, they picture themselves as single, they act single. They come before a single powerful authority, a priest, a government official, captain of a ship, somebody who is authorized to do the ceremony. And what happens? Well, there's a lot of talk and there's vows and such things, but at the critical point, the authority figure, the priest or minister, let's say, says, by the power invested in me by God, I now pronounce you man and wife, or husband and wife. And people's pictures change. Whereas before they had the picture of being single, now they have the picture of being married. And what's interesting is that people can change so much from their single selves to their married selves that their personalities will shift and they behave differently, especially if they have a profoundly different picture of what a married person is versus a single person. There have been cases, for example, I'm sure you know or somebody you know knows, where a man, say, becomes a husband, and with the change in marriage has a completely different view of his wife. He behaved one way before, but now he has different expectations. You are a wife. You should do this and this and this. I'm a husband. This is what I do. Could be completely different from their single life. It's not always, and that could be a negative or a positive. It depends. In some cases, people who were say a man who was very boyish becomes a man, steps into the role, becomes very loving. The birth of a child could be a kind of rite of passage. Now I'm not just a man, I'm a father. And what does that mean? Now I'm a different kind of person. Rites of passage can be a single event or a single authority figure with a one-time affirmation saying, praying, you're different, go out and be that. What's interesting about a rite of passage is that, for example, let's think about how girls become women and boys become men. Girls have a natural biological event that ushers in womanhood, and it changes their picture of themselves. They are a different person. It's a very powerful thing. For boys, it's a little different. The biological side is not as obvious or abrupt or one time. In fact, in older days, and in certain cultures, the tradition would be for the father to take the son out and perhaps hunt a deer and learn what a man does to take care of his family. Or maybe there's a vision quest or some kind of thing. In other cases, it'd be a bat mitzvah. Depending on the cultures, there's different kind of ceremonies do this. Here's what a boy is, here what a man is, here's the ceremony, and now praying, you are it. You've made the transition. In the U.S. and in a lot of Western culture for the last couple decades, a lot of these kinds of initiatory rites of passage for boys have been dismantled so that you have fewer and fewer boys actually going through this kind of transition. With the rise, for example, of single-parent families without father figures or somebody who's going to step into this role, You have a phenomena that's happening today where you have a lot of men, or boys, I should say, boys in men's bodies. And if you ask the women in your life, guys, you'll find out that they see a lot of this around. There's a lot of men in their 20s, their 30s, even their 40s and beyond still acting like boys or frat boys, or they're not fully taking on that transition for some reason. So authorities, this one-time affirmation, this event that changes you is very, very powerful. Another potential opportunity is birthdays. You can, as a parent, for example, you can set up a series of rites of passage. Every birthday becomes a rite of passage. Hey, this is how a 5-year-old behaves, but now here's how a 6-year-old behaves. Here's how an 11-year-old behaves. Now you're turning 12, but this is what a 12-year-old does. You can do it in terms of behavior. You can do it in terms of responsibilities and as well as opportunities. You set the picture in advance. This is what you would do for a child, for example, before they go to school. You don't want to surprise a child with school. You don't want to wait until the first day of preschool or kindergarten and take a child in and say, hey, here you go, go have some fun. They're going to freak out. You set the image in advance. Say 6 months out, say, hey, there's this thing called preschool, kindergarten, and you're going to be going there. Not yet, but we're going to show you what it's like. And you go and just show them, see, the kids having fun. This is the location. You get them used to it. This is kind of how you help people transition and expand their comfort zone. And then when the day comes, the child is ready to go. Rites of passage are important, and you can take advantage of those. Birthdays would be great rites of passage. You paint the picture in advance. This is how a 13-year-old behaves, and this is the kind of responsibilities a 13-year-old has, and so on. Rites, in his book, Smart Talk, and I'll make a reference in the next video on that. Rites is a great coach and a great storyteller, and he has a great take on the Wizard of Oz. You know the Wizard of Oz, the movie. You have Dorothy, you have the Tin Man, you have the Cowardly Lion, and the Scarecrow, and they all want something. The Tin Man wants a heart, the Cowardly Lion wants courage, and the Scarecrow wants a brain. And Dorothy wants to get home. And so what do? They go to the Wizard of Oz. Why? Because he's the powerful authority figure. He has the touch. He's the one who can give them what they want. So they go through all kinds of journeys to get there. And when they arrive, they find out that the Wizard of Oz is a fraud, that this great and powerful Oz is just a man behind the curtain. But if you pay attention, you'll notice that the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, that man is actually a very powerful and empowering wizard. Imagine and think about what he does. The Tin Man says he wants a heart. So what does the Wizard of Oz give him? He gives him a ticking clock. Why? Because everybody can hear their heart, and if you can hear your heart, you have a heart. So he gives it to him. He says, hey, Prang, you got a heart. Go out and act like it. And he does. And then he goes up to the Cowardly Lion. So what does the Cowardly Lion want? He wants courage. What does the Wizard of Oz do? He gives him a medal, because everybody with courage has a medal. And he says, now that you have a medal, go out and act like it. And sure enough, he does. Same with the Scarecrow. The Scarecrow wants brains. Well, everybody with brain has what? A diploma. The Wizard of Oz just gives him a diploma and says, Prang, now you got a brain, go out and act like it. And he does. What really changes in all three cases? He simply puts them through a rite of passage. He gives them an object. And somehow, by just saying, now you have it, go act like it, they do. It's this confirmation that is very powerful. And especially in terms of the diploma, think about that, those of you about to graduate. Before you're studying to be a surgeon or a lawyer, and you can't cut anybody open or practice law. And what do? You go up, everybody's wearing these robes and hats, and you're all dressed up, and it's a very formal occasion. And then what happens? You walk up, and somebody gives you this piece of paper, and what do? Prang, you're now a surgeon, you're now a lawyer. Go out and be that. And sure enough, you do. It changes your picture. Before you couldn't cut, you couldn't practice law, now you can. The ceremony is very important because it puts you into it. It formalizes the occasion. And people go through personality changes sometimes. It's so powerful in that. If you've gotten married, you probably have had that experience. The thing about the Wizard of Oz, though, is he was a very powerful and positive, empowering wizard. He gave people heart and brains and courage. The problem is the world is full of negative, disempowering wizards as well. People who steal a little bit of your heart, who demean your courage or say you're stupid and have no brains. In fact, sometimes we're that disempowering wizard to ourselves. We cut ourselves down. We take our own heart and courage and brains, and we're the ones doing it to ourselves. I think throughout all of this Creating Your Life series, the thing that comes back over and over again is it all comes down to you. You are the one who is in charge of how you respond to life. You are the one to take charge of your self-talk. You're the one who can be the creator of it, and you are the one who can stand up to others who want to take things away from you, who want to take away your heart, your courage, and your brains. But you have a responsibility too, a responsibility to others, that you don't become the person who is doing that to them. So there's only one thing left to do for this episode. Are you ready? By the power vested in me, by me, a very empowering wizard, I now pronounce each and every one of you powerful, empowering associate wizards. Go out and act like it. That's all for now. Next episode, the final one in this topic, next steps.